Alright, in this video we're going to go over how we match the lighting to the plate. I did this a while ago, so I was using Redshift, and I don't actually use Redshift anymore. Currently I'm using Arnold, but these techniques are used in any software. It's not complicated. You're basically eyeballing it and using common sense. And be sure to catch the previous videos of the course. Be sure to like the video so it helps the algorithm, and let's get into this. Now we're going to talk about how I match the plate with the lighting. Since we actually got the camera into the computer, and we have all the correct perspectives so we can just model whatever we want, we need to get the lighting to be consistent with what's on the plate. So if you look at, tie this real quick, if you look at here, our only indication are those highlights and shadows on these buildings. Often you'll have strong shadows on the ground or other indicators that you can place a geo and just match the shadow angle on the ground, and it's much easier to do it like that. Here it was a little trickier because I had to rebuild the side of the buildings here and try to get the same kind of lighting scenario there. So I had built these buildings and put them in place. I just fit them and to make them work, and I thought about the scale as well, real world scale. So let's tear this copy off. And go to perspective over here, and you can see I have the buildings set up over here. What I do for the lighting, since this is outside and a lot of it's cast in shadow too, and there isn't much reflections in like any skies and stuff like that, it's just a blank sky. A lot of times I just use the physical sun and sky that's built into Redshift and any other rendering engine. So to do that, I go to output and I scroll down to environment. And I already have one created here, so let's just delete that real quick. You can delete it. And so you go to, this is for Redshift in this way. All right. So what I want to do is a physical sun and sky, because it will create the environment and the sun together. So when you move the sun around, the environment will act accordingly to real life. So if the sun is angled down, you'll see the change in the color of the sky. So sunsets will give you orange glows. So I say create. And you can, in Redshift, it automatically puts in a photographic exposure, but I don't want to do that because I'm not taking the beautiful render out of Redshift. I want it just flat CG render and fix that all in Nuke and everything. So it tries to act like a physical camera in here, but I don't want to do that. So I delete that. And then you'll see create sun direction over here. And you can scale it up. Scaling up doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the sun at all. And if you go to the attributes over here on the right, you'll see sun shape, and all these are yellowed out because they're completely connected with the physical sky tab over here. So the intensity of the sun is controlled through the intensity multiplier over here. And then you have turbidity zones, which is basically giving you, let's say you want more atmosphere or more fog in the sky, so less light gets through, more gray colors and stuff like that. But for now, we're just going to talk about this, and you'll see if I was to put this on IPR. Let's get the IPR going. IPR. You can see that the sky right now, if I was to put this at, let's say, sunset, now you get a more sunset look, right? And I can angle it here. It gives you accurate lighting. And then you can always change the colors of the light as well. If you were to disconnect or just make the sun direction light, or even just direction light by itself, you can right click and break these connections if you want to do all that stuff too. Let's undo all this. Let's do an IPR. Cool. So I had put these buildings in here, and let's get this back in here. Now to get a plate in the background in Redshift, you can only do that with an environment node. So do I already have that in here? Yes. Let's go. If you click on the options here, you just go to physical sky, and then you scroll down to, I turned off the background. This is another example. Let me just show you this real quick. This is on IPR still. If I say background, it will show you the background. But you don't want to render that out, so I disable the background. Now if you want a plate, you have to go to Redshift, lights, Redshift dome light. Because for some reason, if you do an image plane through Maya, Redshift doesn't pick that up. You have to do it through the plate. So, and then if you scroll down in the attributes of the RS dome light shape 1, you'll see backplates, and you will enable it. So all the GI and all this stuff will be disabled, and it will just be, so you're not going to be lighting with that dome light based off the tint. It's just going to show the backplate. So I'll put that in here. Open. So IPR. If you want to try to cast shadows like that, you can have that on plate and match things that way. Now for me, I kind of want to keep an eye on the plate from a different way because my buildings are covering the only source of light I have to gauge this. So I'm going to disable this whole thing, and because I don't care about it, and I'm just trying to get the angle. So I close that. I'm trying to get this kind of angle. So I had to bring the light that I have here to that angle because I was able to catch the shadows. So if you'll see, the shadows will change as I move it around. You see the lighting here changes. Now if you were to use this, a region, you can, instead of having it process the whole screen, all this stuff is just processing this, so my RPR will now go faster. And you'll see how this changes way faster now. So yeah, it took some time to get the lighting correct, but eventually I was able to get the similar type of shadow hits on the buildings. Did I play with the intensity? No, I kept that one. Sometimes you want to lower intensity, you know, artistic reasons, and you don't have to be precise, you just have to get it to look kind of right, and then you can fix things in Photoshop and all that other stuff. So this actually give you an example of like shadow hitting the ground. Plane, there we go. Scale that sucker. There you go. So scale that, and then let's put a right here. Let's say it was like one of the light poles, or a person, whatever. If this says the lighting scenario is different, or if you had a plate that had shadows angling in a specific way and length, you can place the object, try to place it in that spot, and match the shadow, the type of shadow it gives off. So let's say it was kind of backlit. Oh, also, to make this go, oh no, I have this. If you put this to original size, it will automatically put it to the resolution that you have in here, which in Commons, I don't set it to 4800 pixels, so that's a high res. So if you go to fixed scaling, you can shrink that down to 15%. So only, like, I don't know what 50% of that is, but maybe a 1K render I'm doing. So let's do a region, so we can render faster. And change the lighting. Alright, let's see, look at it. Make this clearer. You can see a little shadow going that way. There you go. Shadow's there. Let's try to do it the other way. There, you can see the shadow switching there. And yeah. So that's just a way as a guide to try to match the lighting. Because once you get that, you're good to go. Because you have to, what's very important, what I love about combining CG with matte painting is that you have consistent lighting. So let's say you have clouds or you have foliage, anything, rocks, anything, you can kind of kit bash your matte paintings, right? Because then you can put your objects into your lit scene that is supposed to be the lit scene that you want, and just, it doesn't have to be perfect in the CG room, but you have it rendered with the right lighting so that you can easily place it where you want or anywhere in the painting and just use bits and pieces. So it's kind of like kit bashing in your matte painting, and you don't have to think about the lighting so much because it's consistent. It should fit, and the values are there, and the shadows should be correct. And it just gives you a more physically accurate and more realistic look. So there you go with the shadows. So that is how you match your lighting.